Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Capes and Lunatics. It's me, Phil, and once again, I have two special guests. I have Reed and Ben here from Cthulhu Dreamt. So, gentlemen, what is Cthulhu Dreamt, and why should these people take notice?
So, Cthulhu Dreamt is a very expansive multimedia project. It started as just a musical act, like a band putting together concept albums, but the concept albums themselves contained like short stories in the liner notes, and essentially we built a backstory and a world to like tell these stories from. And then since then has grown into now like this TTRPG. There's a novel that's going to be associated with like the story that kind of gets us into the game world. And yeah, it's just this project, just this little thing.
Yeah, it sounds very interesting, and I always love a good soundtrack. But you already got like a built-in soundtrack before you even had anything else. So
Yeah, it kind of worked out funny that way. I mean, um, like Ben and I and a few others of our friends have written music together for many years, but like the Cthulhu Dreamt project was kind of a way to write some other stuff, because what Ben and I do primarily is like stage and screen, like media music and stuff like that. And so it was really fun to kind of just throw all that off and go in a different direction with Cthulhu, and just like stretch those muscles that really need to scream.
So, how long did it take from the albums until realizing this whole project? Years, months, years,
Many years.
many years.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I
Right?
mean, I mean, it's like we started work almost immediately right after COVID. Like it's another one of those
Yeah.
COVID projects, right? But as soon as we were done with the first album, like I was just stoked, and I just kept on writing and writing. And a good friend of mine, Jaron, who is one of the leads at Action Fiction, which is a game publishing studio. Um, he and I were talking, and I was telling him about Cthulhu, and he's like, "Well, have you ever considered like turning it into a game, because you've already built a world?" And I was like, "Well, I'm thinking about it now," and so that's kind of how that conversation started. And the game has been like in a certain state of progress for probably a little over a year and a half now.
Interesting. And you said there's a book, there's gonna be a novel involved in this. Or are you guys writing that, or do you have somebody doing that?
So one of our bandmates, our contributors for the music, his name is Chris Durston, but he's like his kind of main creative avenue is writing. He writes books, and so so like I talked to him about developing a story that would kind of bridge together a couple elements and tell a little bit more about some of the NPCs that are going to be in the game. And so for him, he was like, well, yeah, of course. And so he's been writing that for like maybe like 9 months now. He had a kid towards the beginning, so it kind of delayed his writing a little bit, but yeah, he's nearly done with the like second draft of the novel. And but yeah, so it's like all a big family, I guess, doing everything.
All right, and the most important question: what's the story? Tell us the whole story about this whole world.
Okay, so the story. Ben, do you want to take this one? No, I'm just kidding.
No, I can't. No, go ahead.
Well, Cthulhu Dreamt, like it really began as a way for me to process like a trauma that I had been that I lived through, which is my wife and I lost our daughter in childbirth. And so like creating this story where all of these things that are completely out of our control embodied in a Cthulhu, it seemed like a really good analogy for for those things that we don't control and that can, get the better of us, in certain situations and times. And so the story kind of built from there. And the first album, it's the liner notes are a found journal by one of the characters, and in it she experiences like a loss of a child, but in our world she is a physicist, a very brilliant person, and she's got a team around her, and she develops the technology to find her daughter in another universe. And when she does, she inadvertently opens a portal for Cthulhu that then to come to our plane. And so that's the first album. The second album takes place during like this 5-year liminality. That's actually the name of the album, but this 5-year period where Cthulhu remains in stasis. And that also is where the novel will take place. And then the game begins like as Cthulhu is awakening. So in a nutshell, that's
I mean, this sounds interesting. I mean, this could be a movie. I mean, my first love is comic books. This could be a comic book. I mean, this is, yeah.
We love all those things too. It's
Absolutely.
not a coincidence.
No, I hear this plot. I'm just like, yeah, this could be any one of these things.
Yeah.
So would you say if someone wanted to get a sneak peek, is like, would listening to the music first be a good gateway, or should someone just dive in, or?
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
plug for something I worked on. The liner notes are a great teaser for the story, because the liner notes for both of the first two albums, it's something like that was one of the things I worked on a lot in the project. But they're both diaries, and the first one is oh my gosh, I'm blanking on her name. What's the main gal's name? Alia, the mother's journal, as she's preparing to go and get Maya, her daughter, from the other universe. And so, you see just these journal entries that's kind of like found journal, kind of style. And so you're reading these journal entries as she's getting closer and closer to the date when she's actually going to open the portal, and what she's feeling and why she's doing it and all that. And then for the second album, we decided to go into the other universe where other Maya is, and she also has a diary, and she's been writing in her diary about having met this something Reed didn't mention, by the way, when he was talking about the story, is that Maya in the other universe lost her mother. And so, we didn't want to write this really clean, tidy story where it's like, oh, well, now we have each other again. Yeah. It's actually kind of messy and icky and weird and fake and inauthentic when they try to have a relationship. And so Maya's kind of writing about that. Like, this is kind of everything I've ever wanted, and it's also weird and gross and not real. And I hate that. And this isn't actually my mom. And she's writing as the timeline gets closer and closer and closer to when Ollie is going to try to bring her back to our universe. So I think if you're looking for a teaser about the story, the liner notes of the first two albums are a great place to start.
I mean, the story sounds great, but you almost have me sold just on liner notes. I can't remember the last time I got an album with good liner notes,
They're really good liner notes. I'm just kidding.
I mean, it's sort of as a teenager in the 90s. I'm just like, when's the last time you had an album with either good liner notes or even just lyrics, anything like that?
We were also definitely teenagers in the 90s. Again, not a coincidence.
Yeah, that aspect of the musical world has definitely changed as it's gone like into digital. And like I know there's like little pockets of resurgence with physical and like vinyl being a thing, and like CDs kind of seem dead, but as like an audio file, CDs are the best quality you can get. So it's a little strange, but it is nice. Like it's always nice to have that tactile feedback and like being able to flip pages. And like I don't know about you guys, but like sometimes you get that little smell from the new thing, and it like takes you right back to the comic book store or like the disc store.
Yeah, I love reading my comics. Yeah, like physical paper copies. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hold on. Yeah, no, it's yeah, the whole music industry. It's like, do you have to have like album sales alone aren't like you have like the rock stars have to go on tour. I mean, you guys have this whole built-in story behind this. It's like you can't just like depend on album sales alone anymore, can you?
No, I don't think so. I mean, like, that's never been like how I've made a living.
Yeah.
But just like reading, all these countless anecdotes and stories from, different bands that are touring and like just how everything is. It just seems like it's a struggle, and I mean, it is a struggle. If that's your only means of like survival, is art.
I think something that like you hear a lot of anecdotes about too, though, is a lot of artists will say, just do the thing that you really love and are passionate about. And I think that, and there are so many stories of like that artist that, was chasing the commercial success for years and years and years, and then was like, well, screw it, I'm just going to do something I like for my last project, and then go get a real job, and that's the project that makes or whatever. And, I don't think either Reed or I feel like we've made it yet, but I think that like this project of all the things we've worked on together has been the most successful, has the largest sustained audience, and I don't think that's a coincidence. I think, Reed wrote about some deeply personal, very real things, and it resonated with a lot of people, and both of us just love like the story we've created, and that makes it easier to go back to. And then even the nerdy things that we're talking about here, like, oh, there's all this little overlap, like we like all these different things. Well, that none of that's a coincidence. It's like when you start writing the kind of art that you wish was being made, suddenly there are other people out there that are like, well, I like that art too.
Yeah,
I was hoping somebody would make that. So
yeah, no, I know what you mean. Yeah, if it's a project you're passionate about and you love, yeah, it's going to shine through. And just like you were saying, like after the pandemic, it seems like it's such a great time. Like there's so many different projects out there. Like I say to everybody, I'm just like, but the only downside to that is there's so many projects out there now. It's like you don't know where to focus your attention half the time.
It's true. It's true. And I like that, not just for like the project side of it, I'm always going to like revert back to my default, which is music. But like on the music side of it, I read something last year where it was like so many millions of songs are released every single day, like on Spotify at all, and it's like there's so much noise, and like the challenge becomes finding the people, like the one or two folks out there that are like tucked in their little niche and just like waiting for whatever it is like you're going to connect with. And so it's just like everything, there's just so much of everything.
Well, that's the challenge, right? Of like, do you like, on the one hand, you kind of want to shut out all those voices and just make something that you think is rad, right?
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you make it, but then you're like, well, now I made it, and now it'd be really cool if somebody listened to it. So then you're out there like hunting for the other people that'll think it's rad. But like, I don't know, it's kind of, you have to toggle back and forth in your brain. Those are such two different processes. Reed's really good at that. I'm not.
Thanks.
Yeah, I think no matter what it is, music, books, whatever, it's just like, even like doing this podcast, it's just like, so you have to focus so much of your energy in the marketing just to, just say, hey guys, we're over here. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. But and the crazy thing though is like at the same time that we're saying like how like all of these walls that are kind of in our way, the other side of that coin is like we're at a time where it's easy, like the easiest time in existence to release something or put something out or do something creative, and it's like the other thing that I read about Spotify is that now more than ever there are more people living off their music than ever before, just because of like Spotify playlists and like people getting streams. And so there's good and bad, right? So it's just just finding what you can do, I guess.
Oh, I know to ask you, Reed. You were talking about the CD. So I mean, I don't know either way. I'm not that big. I'm not that big into the music where I can tell the difference. So I hear people always talking about vinyl. So are you saying CD is better quality than vinyl?
Well, yeah, I mean, like, so obviously there's going to be debates, but I think just objectively, the sound of a CD, like the digital to analog conversion, it's just like the cleanest, it's the most direct from whatever the production was into that audio form. Like that's what I meant by that. Like,
Yeah.
I am a fan of vinyl too. Like, I'm looking at these stacks and shelves of vinyl off to my right, and I'm just like, why do I listen to all this again? But it's like, it's that thing where it's like, oh my god, like I got a package in the mail, I'm gonna rip it open and look at this like awesome vinyl case, and oh my god, these inserts, and yeah, it's like, it's just, it's therapeutic.
Yeah, it's, for me, it's like collector's edition art books, from video games or from movies I really liked. And not that I'm an artist, I just like to look at what other people can do.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, there's something about those like tactile things.
Mhm.
It's tough too to live in an era where the world is changing so fast, and it's hard to argue with it. It's like really hard to argue with the cultural momentum heading towards a way of distributing music that's much, much easier for people to listen to in their car or on their phone, or to show to their kids or to show to their friends. I mean, it's like, if you have a new album that you really love and you only have it on vinyl and you want to show it to your friend in Kentucky, it's like,
listen to this.
Here, yeah, you hold the phone up and like, it's like Back to the Future. But yeah, I don't know. I just, I try not to be like an old cranky man and say like, this is how it ought to be.
Yeah.
But also say, but it's also really cool, And so for anybody that's still into it, I love doing that kind of stuff. I mean, that's where the liner notes come from, right? I mean, it's the same kind of.
Oh yeah. Yeah, one of my co-hosts and I were just talking about this, where it's like, yeah, I don't think physical media is ever completely going to go away, just because like all these streamers for music, TV shows, it's like, pushing a button, they can be like, oh yeah, we're not going to have that available anymore.
Right.
So I think people are always going to have physical media.
Yeah, that's been like killing me lately, and really making me wish that I had so much more money, because like, with like the stuff that what is it, like Paramount and Disney and like a few of those other companies have been doing lately, which is writing off these shows and then completely wiping them out from streaming, and now they don't exist anymore. And it's like, what if I wanted to watch Willow again? The season of Willow. Well, I can't now, because Disney decided they were going to take a big tax break from writing it off.
Yeah, it's it's interesting watching that trend and thinking about how, like, we all thought it was going to make media so much more available. Like streaming meant we were going to be able to watch whatever we want. I mean, that's kind of the promise when Netflix went online, when they went from DVDs. I don't know if anyone out there is old enough to remember that Netflix used to literally be DVDs you got in the mail. Which is just impossible to even like imagine now. But when the promise they made is it's just going to be so easy. You just turn on your TV and watch it. It's going to be everything. And I remember really early on, like even music that I wanted to listen to, like not every, like if like the more obscure albums I liked from when I was a teenager, like you couldn't always find them on iTunes, or you couldn't always find them to buy on Amazon. And I was like, well, what does that mean? Also, what does it mean that I've bought a movie on Apple TV or on iTunes or on, Amazon? Like, what does that mean if someday Apple's like, well, we don't do movies anymore? like I own it, but it's just a download that I got from them, and I need their device to play it. I don't know. It's just interesting,
Or it's just a glitch, or there's just a glitch or something. It's like, oh, it's gone.
Yeah.
Well, sure.
Yeah.
Sure. That would suck also.
Yeah.
The singularity.
Well, something that already has happens now, right, is if you purchased a movie from a company and then they like take it off, sometimes if you don't already have it downloaded, it can be difficult to figure out how to go download it again. And it's just weird. It's like, it's just a weird time. I'm confident that we'll figure some of this out. A lot of this will just like balance out the way, like, we don't have the original cinematic versions of Star Wars anymore, just because like we lost the tape. and that happens, like, because it was old technology. So it's just like, we try to like hang on to what we can as we're like, marching through the desert of time, and like hang on to what we can carry. And every once in a while we drop something, we'll pick something else up on the way.
But I mean, now there's a writer's strike and everything. I mean, yeah. So
yeah, I think that's pretty wild. I mean, when the actor strike, especially, like I have a lot of friends that are actors, and so I feel like I've heard a little bit more about that than the other. But like when people start telling stories like, yeah, well, they wanted to pay me $100 to scan my body and use it in their movies forever. It's like, yeah, I don't think I would have signed that either. Like I wouldn't have been too excited about that contract either. So it's a weird time,
Yeah.
It is. So yeah, weird that I just see more and more list of TV shows and movies. They're like, yeah, it's getting pushed back. It's getting pushed back. So, so this is the perfect time to go support Cthulhu Dreamt Kid.
Yeah.
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 Yeah, we won't be using any scans of people. We won't be using any AI. I mean, it's all produced by humans.
So I mean, we'll get to this again at the end, but where can people find it? I mean, you go to the Kickstarter, right? And then is there like or is there any other websites or anything, or
Yeah, CthulhuDreamt.com, and that's like there's like a million different ways to spell Cthulhu because apparently Cthulhu affects our minds this way, but CTHULHU, something like that. But that is like the splash page and kind of all of the in a nutshell knowledge of the game and like the accompanying soundtrack and novel and stuff like that. And then from there, there's a link to jump over and like pre-follow the Kickstarter. But yeah, like all of our socials, Cthulhu Dreamt on Facebook and Twitter, and then Cthulhu.dreamt on Instagram.
I was gonna say, and if you want to send me any links after this, I'll put them in all the show notes, and so.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
And the correct spelling will be in the title, kids. So.
Nice.
Very good.
So, like on your website, can you go on and like buy like you guys offer CD? I know it costs money to press like CDs and stuff. Do you have CDs and stuff?
Yeah, so like right now the Cthulhu Dreamt splash page is really just committed to the Kickstarter, which again launches in like 11 days. But the like our Bandcamp page and then the band page going through. Boy, this seems really wordy and confusing. I'm sorry, but Fable Factory is the creative studio that Cthulhu Dreamt like releases under.
Okay.
So fablefactory.org, like there's a project page for Cthulhu Dreamt, and that will take you to the store, and like you can get CDs of the stuff that's been released so far, and the second studio album also has a vinyl version and a cassette version. And then like one of the things I'm excited about, because I do love vinyl, is the Kickstarter soundtrack will have like a curated Kickstarter edition with like a gatefold jacket for a vinyl release, and it'll be like able to be used as a GM screen for the game.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Am I safe to assume this is like rock or heavy metal, or am I completely off base?
No, you're assuming correctly.
Okay.
It's all flutes.
60 trombones.
Yeah.
No, it's it's like Cthulhu Dreamt is and always will be, as long as we keep putting out music, like a very mixed musical type of sound, like with metal as its basis. But like listening through the first couple albums, you'll hear like acoustic stuff, you'll hear like trap music, you'll hear like some EDM stuff, there's bluegrass mixed in. And then for the soundtrack, like one of the really kind of bucket list things that Ben and I were able to do is compose some big orchestral pieces, and we actually got a couple different orchestras from around the world to record that, and that'll be like part of the big sound for the soundtrack.
I'm sure it's the perfect soundtrack to play the game, correct?
Yeah.
That's the idea. Yeah.
Curated by the makers.
Yes. Nice. All right. I don't think I have any more questions for you guys. Is there anything else you want these people to know besides go on Kickstarter and to help support the game? Is there anything else you want these people to know?
I mean, there's so much, but so little time. No, I mean, I appreciate your time here tonight, Phil, and appreciate you talking about the project and letting us talk about the project a little bit. We're pretty excited to launch this thing, and like super thrilled with all of the people who have contributed to it, like the artwork, the writing, the music making, and we can't wait to see like how people feel about it once they get in there.
Yeah. And I would just say like a big thank you to anybody out there who's like, supporting indie art, whether it's our art or somebody else's, like out there, buying vinyl and reading liner notes and, I don't know, exploring the music and the storytelling that's going on in the world that isn't being fed to you by all the algorithms. I just really appreciate anybody who's out there searching for that. I'm so grateful that you're out there looking for that. As I sit in my little room trying to pump that stuff out into the world and be seen. So we're just really grateful for anybody who checks it out.
Yeah, but I mean, just from the podcast, I know what it's like to be passionate about something, and you want people to notice it. And again, this might be the good opportunity because people are going to be looking for content here coming up, going forward here for a while. So
yeah,
awesome. So yeah, kids, check out, go support Cthulhu Dreamt. And
thanks so much, Phil.
Again, thank you, gentlemen, for your time. And
yeah. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right.